Hello, YouTube family. All right, so this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard, and I'm going to talk today about general ideas about how you can cleanse your house from ghosts and negative energies. So, people have asked me about this. I recently did a video about how to perform an exorcism, so if you want, you can watch that. But I have other videos on my channel about exorcisms and demon possession. And there's a lot of things that you're probably not told that you need to know. Bottom line is this: bear in mind everything I'm about to say. The underlying assumption of everything I'm about to say hinges on this, which is that if you are connected to your soul, your divine essence, nothing can touch you. No human, no spirit, nothing. Your soul, your divine soul, is in fact immortal and omnipotent. Nothing can harm it. All right? Having said that, there are some things that you can learn about, how to keep yourself safe when it comes to your home. So people have been asking me how to cleanse their home. So first things first, you got to take care of yourself. You have got to make sure that you are empowered within yourself. If you are drinking a lot of alcohol, if you are ingesting any kind of mind-altering chemical, I don't care if you think it's a shamanic power plant or if it's just for fun, these kinds of things mess with your aura. And your aura is your first and last defense of everything. Disease as well as energy. Energy of other people, psychic energy of other people, entities, just the energies coming from your phone, all of that. Your aura is your first and last defense of all of those things. Your aura needs to be strong. If your aura is not strong, then what you end up having to deal with is anything coming in and getting inside your aura. So first thing is you need to be strong. That means not only the things that I talked about, the physical things to make sure that you're taken care of, but to also make sure that you are following your highest spiritual essence, your truest joy. When I say that, I hear that and I go, oh, I got to be careful because people are going to, they're going to get all judgmental and think, oh, I have to be perfect and righteous. No, trust me, that's not what I mean. What I mean is you got to do those things that give you joy. For me, it's surfing. Doing these videos gives me joy. I just got back from the gym. That gives me a lot of joy. Living next to the beach, that gives me joy. These are the things I do to keep myself connected to my soul. When I'm connected to my soul, nothing bothers me. I'm strong. I make good decisions. I don't let negative people or negative energies in my life. I feel confident. I trust the universe. All of these things are signs that you're connected to your soul. So that's the first thing you got to do. Clean up your external, the way your diet and all that other stuff, so that your aura stays clean, and then follow your highest joy, and vigorously live to be happy. That keeps your soul strong, which then keeps your aura strong. All right. Now, in my experience, when there are negative spirits, it means that on an unconscious level, you have attracted them. That could mean that either you attracted them to you or you were attracted to places where they were. And the best way to deal with that is to deal with any unconscious, unresolved issues. Do you have psychological issues? Do you have depression? Do you have anxiety? Do you have anger? People who have these things are also the same people who drink and smoke and party because they want to be distracted from their feelings. And that's the bottom line when it comes to any kind of possession or haunting. If you're in it and you feel victimized and you can't get out, it's for that reason. Trust me, that is the reason that got you there. There's something in your unconscious mind, something in your past, depression, anger, anxiety, fear, insecurity, these kinds of negative feelings. These things have become so intolerable, guilt, shame, that you end up looking for something to distract you from those feelings. Ending up renting a house, that's on top of a Native American burial ground. The reason that I didn't know. Well, yeah, on an unconscious level you did, and that's why you sought it out, because you wanted all the chaos to complain. Oh my God, my life is I'm in a haunted house, and yeah. Well, now you don't have time to deal with how sad you are because of whatever it is. So that's the other thing. You need to take full responsibility. You got yourself there, and or you attracted it to you. Okay? If you understand that, then you can take the steps to relieve it. One of the things that I find just amazing, I just find this amazing, is that people who end up in haunted houses a lot of times, they will stay there for years and they complain about it. I had somebody contact me not too long ago with this kind of scenario. And my first thought was, well, just move. Just move. Well, we bought the house. Okay, so then sell it. Sell the house and get out. It's just not, that's another thing too. How you don't like where you live. First thing, you want to cleanse the house? Get out. Move out. Now, sometimes people move and the spirits follow them, and then we have bigger fish to fry. So that is the basic. I tell you the basic things. You got to keep yourself spiritually strong. You got to keep yourself physically strong. You got to keep yourself mentally and emotionally clear and strong. Going and getting counseling, all that kind of stuff. All those things will help. And if you're not willing or able to pick up and move, which I personally can't understand, if you're not able or willing to do that, then we start talking about other things. Let's talk about some prevention. What you want to avoid in a house is yin energy. So yin is feminine earth energy. There's yin and yang. So the yang would be the masculine, the high vibrational energy. The tops of mountains, especially mountains that are made up of granite, especially. Those have high yang energy fields. Now, you can have spiritual experiences there, but they're not going to be the same. That's like you'll meet with gods or higher beings. That's why a lot of temples are built on top of mountains for this very reason. So, you want yang. Yang energy keeps things free of negative energies. So, places that have yin energies, you're near a graveyard. I actually lived in a house that was not too far from what turned out to be a Native American burial ground. Now, we didn't know that. And then there was some excavation that was done. I remember when I was a kid, there was some excavation that was done, and they found a bunch of bones, Native American bones. And it was like, whoa. As it so happened, the first exorcism I ever did was on the grounds of, there was a church right next to it. And we didn't know that when we were there, but that church was haunted. That church was a scary place. And I remember being in that church and on the grounds of that church, and it overlooked a cliff. I mean, it was just like the movies. It overlooked a cliff and the ocean. And I can remember looking behind me, because I could feel that somebody was about to push me off the cliff. But nobody was there. It was a spooky place. Well, that church was built right next to and perhaps on top of Native American burial ground. So first thing, don't rent a house next to a burial ground. That seems pretty obvious, right? Hospitals and old folks' homes. Those are also yin places because what's happening is that's place people die, people get sick, but also like people are on their way, they're moving out, they're on their way out of this realm, so they're going to be attracting those kinds of things that may not necessarily be bad, but that's another place you don't necessarily want to go. You don't want to have a house near there. You would like to have a house that is in a nice, has lots of good yang energy. So to give you an example in my life, those of you who have watched my channel, I stepped in it pretty big, and I got involved with a woman, and everything completely fell apart. And I moved to go be with her, and then of course everything went all to hell, and I spent the holidays all by myself in an unfurnished house. And it was horrible. But the energy of that place also was weird. I didn't like the energy there either. And the reason was because energetic. That neighborhood was surrounded by rivers on all sides, and rainforest. And so it was flat. So it was kind of, there was a lot of water that was accumulating around it, and certainly in the ground underneath. So there's a lot of yin energy there. Whenever you have that kind of scenario, like lots of, like swamps, and, it was almost like a swamp, but there literally was a river that went all the way around on all sides, and, the intense rainforest there. It was a nice place to visit. It was really intense, but I didn't like living there. I didn't like the energy there at all, and I was depressed, and I didn't, it was hard for me to think, and it was hard for me to figure out what I was doing, and I couldn't, and I had to get out of there. And in fact, even though the house itself wasn't haunted, that house told me I didn't belong there in so many different ways. I mean, every time I'd open a window, I'd smash my finger, I'd step on things, I'd stub my toe, the key wouldn't work. It was just like the house was just like, get the hell out. You don't belong here. And I said, okay. And I ended up, losing some money, but getting out of there was important. Now, where I'm at now, completely different scenario. Now I'm on the side of a hill. It's not really a hill. It's kind of like a mountain on the side of the ocean, and it overlooks the ocean. And so my house is like tiered on the side of a hill, and I get to look out over the ocean, and there's sunlight, and you can just feel the energy here. I don't know if maybe you can tell by looking at it, but the energy here is very bright. It's very strong. There's lots of good yang energy here. And so here I feel really motivated, and I feel happy, and I feel hopeful. And a lot of that has to do simply with the energy of the place. On the side of a mountain overlooking the ocean, facing the eastern direction, that's a heck of a lot more positive energy than being like basically a sinkhole in the rainforest. So building a house in a cave, bad idea. There are just places where there's too much yin energy, too much dark, earth, feminine energy, and that draws that kind of, it attracts those kinds of entities. So you got to think about that, those kinds of things. Now, if you don't have the power to leave, you don't have the power to, and you're stuck there, which again, to me, there's always a way out. Just decide to just not deal with it. If that's the case, then you've got to do some work. And I told you about what you need. You've got to do some work on yourself, first and foremost. You got to do that. Other things like stay away from like battlegrounds. There are some places that are haunted because they were Civil War battlegrounds in the United States, or there were massacres that happened. You stay away from those places. Obvious. It's just obvious stuff. All right, so people smudge. I have nothing against smudging. Smudging itself, I don't know that just the act of smudging itself does everything. A lot of it has to do with your intent when you do the smudging. Um, there's a couple of different ways of dealing with spirits. You know, the Buddhist way of dealing with spirits is you convert them to become Buddhists. You know, in fact, a lot of the guardian deities, the really fierce-looking Tibetan deities, were actually shamanic spirits that the Buddhists considered were demons. And what they did, instead of driving them off, they converted them into Buddhism. And so these are now the guardian spirits of the religion of Tibetan Buddhism. So that's one way to do it. I'm a spirit fighter, so I don't do that. My thought process is any spirit that is living in your house without your permission is no different than somebody who breaks into your house and just starts sleeping in the middle of your, the middle of your living room and starts watching television and eating your food. They don't belong there. It's just that simple. So spirit. If you stop thinking of them as spirits and you start thinking of them as people, the fact whether they have a body or not really isn't all that important. There's a person in your house that you didn't invite, and maybe they're crazy and they think they belong there. Well, they don't. So you make it challenging for them to be there. Every time you see them, you give them strong energy and you tell them to get the hell out of my house. This is my house. You don't belong here. And you just keep doing that over and over and over again. They'll get the message they don't belong. Now, if we're talking about a negative entity that's attached itself to you, then there's all kinds of but you still got to do that. You don't put up with it. You don't put up with it. So you can do things like smudging. You can do things like rituals, bring in a priest and do an exorcism. All that stuff works because all of that says that you are looking for the higher yang energies to come in and to expel that out. Do rituals like, have people come over and do, depending on whatever your religion is, sing hymns or do bhajans. Sing spiritual songs, that kind of thing. Chanting of mantras. Have a bunch of people come over and sit and light some candles and everybody chant Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Those kinds of things. Continuing to do that with the intention of replacing the negative energy with positive energy. You can look at things like feng shui, which has some remedies to deal with that. Maybe you have, your room is placed in your bedroom is in the wrong place inside of the house, that kind of thing. You have to figure out where the positive energies are in places. One thing you can do is you can put an altar in the northeast direction of the house. And the northeast direction, the northeast and the southwest direction, that line that goes from northeast to southwest, is a spiritual line where the physical intersects with the spiritual. The northeast is the highest of yang energies, and the southwest is the lowest of yin or earth energies. So the southwest is definitely not a place that you want to focus on. If you have your house in the southwest, it's okay. There are things that you can do. Bear in mind, take everything I say with a grain of salt. You don't get too superstitious about any of it. So those are some of my thoughts. Again, the bottom line is that if you live in a place that, like I was living in a place that energetically was wrong for me. And I was doing a lot of work and spiritual work and rituals and things like that and energy work. And there was nothing evil about the place. The place wasn't haunted or evil, but there was just a lot of energy that just kept pulling me down into it just wasn't empowering. And that's because there was just so much yin energy there. In fact, here we have, do I have it on here? Here in Australia, they have these huge bats. And the bats there were even bigger than normal. So I don't know do I have the bats on here? If they're on here, I'll show them to you. I don't see them here. So I guess I don't have them. But point being is that just everything yin just got bigger, and even the bats, man, the bats were enormous. And then you could walk outside your house and these bats that were the size of dogs with wings, literally, they're called flying foxes. They were hanging in the trees, at dusk. And I'm walking under these enormous, German shepherds with wings. It was just, it was a nice place to visit. Didn't like living there. So stay away from yin energy. Put an altar in the northeast, and if you're not able to leave, get in there and do spiritual practices, do some rituals. You can go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. Let me get these links up here for you. Bonk. You can go to courses.thunderwizard.com. By the way, all of my services are there, and I've got prices slashed because it's tax time. But you can get to my astrology page, and if you get an astrology reading from either me or from one of my apprentices, you can get a special mantra just for you. Do your mantra and do celestial qigong, which is the energy work that I teach, which also you can find here, but is also at the spirittao.com link. You can go directly here. I've got this link here because that practice is reverse engineered from a spirit fighting practice of China. These are spirit fighting wizards that have the ability to go in and with their bare hands, they can do these shamanic martial forms that drive out spirits. I mean, I know for a fact that it works because I've done it, I've practiced it, I teach it. And I one time walked into a room and there was a woman who has been working with a ghost. And she got up and literally something pulled her out of the room. And she said, when you walked in, and I was doing my mudras and things, and she said, when you did that stuff, it just went right through me and I had to get up and leave. It's because she had a ghost attached to her. So this energetic practice here is very powerful. So my recommendation to if you really want to cleanse your life and your house, do all the things that I mentioned. Do your mantra do your qigong, your celestial qigong, and then do your mantra. Do that every day, and eventually the energy of that place will, if it's in a place that can be conducive to hold that high level of energy, then it will drive out those negative spirits. If the other thing is true and the energy of the place is just, there's just so much yin there, whatever, then what ends up happening is that the situation in your life will change so that you can actually go and get out of that house, if that's what's necessary. Okay? So those are some of my thoughts about how to cleanse a house of ghosts and negative entities. Okay? So spirittao.com. And also, go to thunderwizard.com if you want to subscribe to the Master Shaman course and learn, I talk about a lot of this kind of stuff there too as well. And courses.thunderwizard.com, as I've already told you, I'm slashing my prices on all of my services, almost all of my services, because I got to pay taxes. So subscribe and hit the bell button. Thanks. I'll see you guys soon.